you look at last year's performance, the industrial sector as a whole grew by about 3%. And this is the government kind of uh, estimates or data. And given that your population growth rate is very high, so this industrial growth of 3% is really very, very marginal. And if one presumes that industrialization is the engine of growth for Pakistan, then this kind of growth has to be in at least in double digits. So if the industrial sector has to create the jobs and the prosperity and the exports and all the good things which all of us as Pakistanis and the government wants uh, in the economic side, then industry has to really be the leader of the growth. And unfortunately, it has been in the dumps for at least the last 4 years, if not more. So I think that if you look at the composition of this growth, then the majority of the growth in this current fiscal year has been automobile sector, which is really the induction of electric vehicles on a very large scale in Pakistan, and there's import into Pakistan and there's sales over here. So the industrial sector is getting kind of I would say it's a fake growth because most of this is imported and the manufacturing facilities for EV is not all that great. Most of the parts just they come pre-packed and you assemble them here, and that shows up in the growth rates of the industrial sector. Then you have some energy increase in refineries output, and that is you can trace it to the oil prices going on and the difficulties in importing, and therefore domestic refineries are a bit gearing up, and that is adding to the construction, to the industrial output. But if you look at, and then I think a silver lining in a way is the cement sector, which is showing some resilience and growth, which indicates that the real estate sector may not be totally dead, and there may be some recovery over there. But on the other hand, if you look at the steel sector, that's coming on in a very negative way. Then you have other indicators which, like pharmaceuticals, are negative. All these sectors which depend on a good growth story are lagging right now. So I think it's a very uh, it's not negative, but it is close to zero growth, and we are really in a situation where we need very rapid growth. So I think the whole environment has to change. We have to look at the high rate of taxations which is happening in Pakistan, which has stunted growth, which is a very big part of this industrial growth strategy. Then we are looking at very high cost of energy, which is making industrial, at least the export sector, a bit dominant, even though recently, in the last couple of months, the government's sector has shown some increase, some growth, which is a positive sign. But I think that we need really to look at the cost of doing business, particularly cost of doing business for the industrial sector is very, very high. Taxes, energy, then we can also see that most of our industrial output is for domestic demand and it's not really for exports. And that's a very big negative. So if we want industrial sector to contribute uh, to growth and also to contribute to exports, then we have to have a very competitive sector which can compete with India, with China, with Bangladesh, with Vietnam, and the cost structure for our industrial sector is much different from all these. Plus, our level of technology is much lower, and I think the industrial sector needs a very big injection of investment, which has been lacking in the past at least 8 to 10 years. So investment to GDP is low overall in the economy, and it affects primarily the industrial sector, much more than let's say agriculture. So no new factories, no new technology. The AI kind of revolution seems to be passing us by. So you don't see any major data centers or chip industry or semiconductors, or at least moving in that direction. So I think overall, the industrial sector needs a big helping hand from the government in terms of a more positive environment, in the sense of input costs, in the sense of taxes, in sense of investment facilitation. So all the things which we can think of are affecting the economy of Pakistan in a bureaucratic manner are the front line is the industrial sector. They are hit immediately. So I think that is something which we will be watching out in the forthcoming budget, to what extent the industrial sector is incentivized and how the regulatory burden is removed or at least reduced. And if the government can stay the course and uh, rejuvenate investment into the industrial sector for growth and jobs. So let's see what happens in the budget. Yeah, it is a very status quo-ish type of a target. 4% is, I mean, not very different from 3%. And if you take plus or minus 5% as a margin of error, you can see that this 4% can very easily be 1%. And I think the error is on the upper side. I don't see an upside to it, but I see a downside to it because of we don't see any change in the environment. We don't see energy prices coming down. We don't see taxes coming down. And maybe the Prime Minister has some uh, thing which he will reveal in the budget, but going by the uh, noises coming out of Islamabad, I don't think there is going to be a very major change. And I think in the context of Pakistan, it's not whether it's in the industrial sector growth is 4% or 3%. We really need to know, when is it going to be in double digits? When is it going to be 12% or 15%, which we historically, many decades ago, we used to have that kind of growth. So I think this budget would be very interesting. But clearly, the indications are that it will be a status quo budget, because the tough decisions, they need a lot of preparation, and we have not seen any preparation of major deregulatory efforts or giving some incentives for investment purposes.